The Firecape is one of the biggest milestones for any aspiring gamer, but it is guarded by one of the strongest monsters in all of RuneScape, Jad. The mechanics of the fight alone seem simple, but after hours in the caves, after you've beaten wave after wave of enemies, the pressure to do well may just be too much for some people. And on top of that, you can't even practice Jad without going through the caves. Well, actually. What is up, Scapers? My name is Fancy, and today I am going to show you how you can practice against Jad on any account instantly. Well, almost instant, like a minute. As you can see, we are on a very strong level 7 account, but the stats do not matter, I promise. First things first, pull up your worlds, and we are going to look for a speedrunning world. Make sure to pick the one closest to your region so you get the lowest possible ping. For me in the US East, that is 576. From there, you can see that we spawn in Lumbridge in a new account creation screen. Just confirm the build, and we are going to head over to our quest list and look for a quest called Beneath Cursed Sands. Click on that, and then click on Set Up Speedrun, which should be right here. See, I'm moving my mouse a lot right here. You should immediately be spawned in the desert with base 85 combat stats and decent gear. Nice. From here, we need to find the chat channel tab, this one right here. This one right here. And then head over to grouping, and then in the drop-down select an activity menu right here, we are going to head down to Tazar Fight Caves. Tazar Fight Pits. Click on that, click on teleport, and in a few seconds, you should find yourself in the Tazar area. I'm gonna open up our mini-map, and you can see that we are right above the fight pits, but we need to end up way over here. And to do that, we need to get into the inner city, which is this barrier right here, so we need to head east. So let's click east, and make our way over. Okay, now that we are at the hot door vent, what we need to do is we need to unequip our Firecape. We're going to remove that, right-click, use it, and then show it to one of the guards right here. You can see that we're bragging that we managed to defeat Jad, and the guard will let us through, so we now pass through the door vent. We're now just going to follow this east and then south all the way around until we end up at a bank. There's the bank icon. Perfect. Before we bank, I just want to set up all my hotkeys, controls, etc. so this speedrun profile looks identical to my in-game profile in the main game. I'm going to go to the wrench, all settings. I use transparent click boxes. So I'm going to make sure these are both selected. I already had them turned on. Shift click, I always like to shift click, and that can mess you up. You need to set up your controls. These are the controls that I use. I highly recommend using F keys. If you don't, you can still beat Jad, but you should absolutely learn them. They're just holding you back if you don't. At a very minimum, at least try and learn like just your inventory and prayer book. I have my inventory set to F4 and my prayer book set to F5. And on most keyboards, there's a little gap between these two buttons, and that allows me to like very easily remember which is which. The inventory over here, you can see the inventory is on the left, the spellbook is to the right. So similar on the keyboard, the left button between the gap is the inventory, the right is the prayer book. You see? Prayer, prayer, inventory, prayer, inventory, prayer, inventory, prayer, inventory. I don't know, it makes sense in my head. If you don't like those, use your own keybinds. Just use keybinds, please. Okay, so now let's equip all of our range gear, and before we do anything, we also need to go to attack styles and make sure that you are on rapid. It probably defaulted you to accurate, so make sure you go over to rapid, or you will lose a lot of damage. Now go to the bank. I am just going to deposit everything, and what I'm going to withdraw is all of the brews, all of the restores, and then as many sharks as I can hold. I'm going to take a minute just to arrange my inventory the way I like it. The reason I set it up like this is because it's kind of like a mental reminder that you can use a brew 3 times before the restore, and you'll still restore all of your stats. If you brew more than 3 times, like 4 times, 5 times, and then click the restore, you still won't be at your max range or your max mage or your max whatever level. So 3 brews, then a restore. Similarly, it's layered like this because you can actually combo eat by eating a shark or other fish into a potion, and that way you will eat the shark and drink the brew at the same time, being able to heal much more faster. Okay, so now we're pretty much ready, so I'm going to head down right over here, and on the way I'm going to do one last thing. I'm going to go to settings once again, audio settings, and as you can see I have everything turned off except for my sound effects. Even if you don't play with sound, I highly recommend turning the sound effects on because most people can actually hear audio cues before they can see visual cues. So this may help you a little bit, and if not, it's definitely not going to hurt you. But it will be useful later on. And there are some actual uses in the main game way later on when you become a PVM god where sound is very useful. I also like to turn the music off because the music for Jad it's boss music. I mean, it's boss music. It's just going to add pressure to you, and I don't think that's helpful for anyone doing their first Jad kill. Now that we have all of that out of the way, let's talk to this guy right here, Tazar Ketrak. We're going to click him, and then you know what to do. Spacebar the whole way, spacebar through everything. There we go, and then click, of course, I'm brave enough. Now, this fight will take longer than usual. You don't have a blowpipe, you don't have diamond bolts E or ruby bolts E, you don't have the stuff that you would have in the main game. You don't even have a Slayer helm. That being said, a long fight is fine. It will help reinforce the muscle memory and get you more comfortable around Jad. I also want to stress that if you die, all you need to do is repeat the steps. Go back into the quest list, click on Beneath Cursed Sands, and set up speedrun once again, and it will instantly reset the speedrun, but it will also maintain your new keybinds and options, and you can also minigame teleport again instantly, so it only takes about a minute to fully reset. So as I mentioned, the fight will be very slow. Normally if you're going for a Firecape, you want to have a Jad task so you can wear a Slayer helm, which is a massive DPS boost, but on top of that, again, you either have a blowpipe, better bolts, something else, and the fight goes by fairly quickly. This Jad is also a bit stronger than the normal Jad. This is the Jad from the Inferno, but the basic concept still remains the same. The biggest killer to any Jad fight is really just your own nerves. In the main game, after you get to the wave with the two majors, I highly recommend killing one of the majors and then just safe spotting the other and just taking a few minutes to relax. Make sure your music playlist is set properly. Make sure you're comfortable in your seat. Take a drink of water, have a deep breath. Just make sure you are setting yourself up for success. Another tip that I personally find very helpful is that I always like to reset back to mage after an attack. One thing I see fairly often is that a player will put on a prayer, then they go drink a potion, eat a food, do whatever they want, but then they see Jad start attacking again, and then they panic to put their next prayer on, but instead of turning that prayer on, they actually just turn the prayer off, and now they're dead. As you can see, once I notice that Jad is going to range me, I put on Protect from Range, I wait for the hit splat to show up from his range attack, and then I go back to pray magic. This gives me less to think about as I know I'm always praying mage outside of the few seconds that he's doing an attack. Ranging. Back to mage. Ranging. Back to mage. Ranging. Back to mage. He's maging. We don't need to click anything, so I'm going to use this time to restore. Ranging. Back to mage. Maging. We don't need to click anything. You can use a prayer potion, a range potion, anything there. Another tip is just to drink your potions or eat your food after you put a prayer on. You see Jad move, change your prayer, drink a potion, go back to your prayer book as soon as possible. Don't try to be greedy and do a lot at once. You have plenty of time. Don't worry. Similarly, don't let your prayer drop too low. Anytime you can drink almost a full restore's worth of prayer, drink it. Don't worry about not being super efficient on your prayer or restore potions. Just make sure that you can drink it safely and then drink it. You don't want to have your prayer drop too low and you end up panicking that you're low prayer and you don't have a time right now because the healers are out or something like that. So use your supplies. Once Jad gets to about half HP, the healers will come out, and this is where a lot of people also die. As I mentioned before, this Jad is a little bit stronger and you will actually get 5 healers. The normal Jad will only have 4, but again, this will just help you prepare on what to do. I highly recommend tagging all of these with Runelight to make them easier to see, and remember just to take your time with them. It's okay if Jad heals to full HP, as long as you're alive. It's better to have a 5-minute Jad fight than to have another hour or 2 in the caves. Once you see Jad move for an attack, you set your prey based on the attack, then you click one healer, then you click off and just wait for the next Jad move. Once you have all of the healers on you, what you want to do is move away from Jad so they're in a line. Just walk away from him and they will chase you. If you have tank gear on, you can kind of just try to tank the healers, but I really recommend just putting on your big gamer pants and safe spotting the healers behind Jad. To do this, wait for Jad to attack you, put on the respective prayer, and then run through Jad with all the healers lined up on you. Make sure to immediately put on Protect from Melee once you see the hit splat from the first attack, or else Jad can melee you for some serious damage. If done correctly, all the healers will be stuck behind Jad while being focused on you, so you don't have to worry about them anymore. From this point, the fight is basically on autopilot. Just make sure your prayers are correct, make sure your prayer bar is filled, and you should be good to go. This is also a great opportunity to practice meleeing Jad, and although it may seem a lot scarier, it's probably a lot easier in the speedrun version due to the gear differences. I mean, you have like full bandos, that's awesome. Go and grab all your melee gear from the bank and head back to the challenge area. The fight will start the same way. Jad will attack with either mage or range, and you click on that overhead prayer and you don't take any damage. But after you see the hit splat from that attack, you run into melee range, and you will be using Protect from Melee anytime Jad isn't doing another attack. So if Jad attacks you with mage, you turn on Protect from Mage, you wait for the hit splat to show up, and then immediately go back to Protect from Melee. Same with range. If Jad ranges you, you put on Protect from Range, you wait for the hit splat, then right back to Protect from Melee. You want to have Protect from Melee on. You are camping that bad boy because he will hit you hard. The healers are also done the same way as before. You just make sure to take your time with them while focusing on Jad's attacks, and then run away from Jad to get them lined up better, then run through Jad to safe spot all of them. From that point, it's just continuing the same process over and over again. Protect from the attack, and if he's not doing anything you see, have Protect from Melee on. I know you can do it. Good luck, gamers. I love you all. Subscribe. Peace.